Let's move on to our module of the week and turn it over to Martin Anderson-Klutz, a senior solutions engineer at Acquia and a maintainer of a number of Drupal modules and recipes of his own. Martin, what do you have for us this week?
Thanks, John. Have you ever wanted to use a variety of tokens to customize the directory and file names of your uploaded files? There's a module for that. It's called File Field Paths, and it was created in July of 2008 by Stuart Clark, who goes by Deciphered, though recent releases are by Ole Behera, who goes by Voliger of Golem's GABB. In terms of versions available, it has a 7.x-1.2 and an 8.x-1.0 beta 7, the latter of which supports Drupal 9.3 or newer and Drupal 10. It is officially listed as seeking co-maintainers, and in terms of security coverage, it's opted in, but of course there's no coverage in practice for Drupal 9 or 10 because it doesn't have a stable release. It does have test coverage, and in terms of open issues, there are 131 open issues, 50 of which are bugs against the current branch, which is actually pretty good considering the module is officially in use by almost 35,000 sites, according to Drupal.org. Now, this module allows you to customize file names and paths by leveraging a variety of entity-based tokens. It also integrates with the Path Auto module, allowing you to optionally clean up the tokens, for example, by removing slashes, filtering out words or punctuation, and so on. It can also work with the transliteration module to convert Unicode characters into US ASCII 2. And File Field Paths also has options to rename and move existing files and can retroactively rename files, effectively bulk updating and moving all of your existing files. It can also work with the redirect module to automatically create redirects from the old path to the new file name and location when doing that bulk renaming. I'd also like to give a tip of the cap to Jim Birch of Canopy for suggesting this module when I was talking to a customer who was looking to achieve pretty much exactly what this module does. So let's talk about file field paths.
It's funny, Martin, you were describing this and I was kind of like, doesn't Core already do, or well, doesn't Core plus tokens already do this? And then like you started talking about moving files and bulk moving files and like redirecting files and like all the other things. And I was like, oh, Core doesn't do that.
Well, that I was going to actually ask something similar if that's ever happened to anybody, because I needed this functionality almost 6 months ago on a project. And I was like, oh yeah, Core does that. Like, I know I've done it before, and I went to do it and it couldn't. I ended up writing something I must have used this module in the past because I knew that functionality existed, and then I just couldn't find it again. And I wrote something simple to do something similar myself.
Am I wrong though? Core does, if you have tokens installed with Core, it will let you tokenize the file path for a file, right?
I mean, tokens weren't included until Drupal 8, right?
Yeah. My understanding is that with Core, you can use user tokens as part of the file name, but not sort of like node-based tokens and like related entities.
Yeah. Well, now I'm going to have to go test that out. Not that I don't believe you, but I'm going to have to re-educate myself.
I think it might depend on the field you're using too, on where it can place it in a folder.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
And I think most of that too is about like the directory that it goes in, than the actual file name.
Very true.
Yeah, and reading up on this module, it was even saying that if there are certain tokens that it won't know certain like how they resolve until the node is actually saved, it'll kind of like put it into a temporary location, and then once the node is saved, then it'll actually move it to the final place once it has all of the information saved. So, pretty sophisticated.
I feel like there may be a security hole there exploited at some point where somebody moves that file somewhere else. Nefarious.
Next Wednesday's security advisory brought to you by John Capozzi. So
everybody's like,
there is an appropriate process to announce potential security problems, and putting it on a podcast maybe isn't it.
Don't worry, this podcast's not coming out for a week. It'll be fine.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
There you go.
Good.
That's right.
Plenty of time to clean up my tracks.
I had a couple of quick points, but first of all, I remember using this module from Drupal 7 and loved it. in Drupal 7. Absolutely loved it. This is the kind of thing that really like solidified my desire to keep working with Drupal. It seemed there was always a little utility module that scratched an itch for a particular project that just really worked really well. And this one, no exception. I believe it's actually used the transliteration module since Drupal 7, which was one of the things I wanted to incorporate, because I was working with a website that had a lot of Cyrillic characters, and there was a particular file system that was struggling with it. And anyway, I ended up using this module to solve that, like, I feel like a decade ago. And the fact that this thing is 16 years old, it can almost drive at this point, which I think is amazing. But before Martin goes, I wanted to shout out that Martin, you were featured, and you haven't said anything yet, on the Drop Times 2 days ago. And Martin, you brought your wisdom and your positivity to the thoughts on Drupal Starshot. The link will be in the show notes.
Oh, thanks for calling that out, Josh. Hopefully, listeners, I guess it'll be too late by the time this podcast comes out, but I'll be sharing some similar thoughts at Drupal Camp Ottawa later this week. So probably the recording will be available in short time.
Awesome. And if you haven't already, sign up for our newsletter. We'll have a link to that in the newsletter as well. So it's all Martin all the time. That's how we do it here at Talking Drupal. Martin, always a pleasure to talk about Module of the Week with you. If folks wanted to connect or suggest a module, how could they go about doing that?
We are always happy to get nominations for Module of the Week in the Talking Drupal channel of Drupal Slack, or folks can reach out to me directly as Manclue on all of the Drupal and social channels.
Awesome. Safe travels to Drupal Camp Ottawa, and good luck.
Thanks, Chad.